next guest is Rabbi Moss, who is the rabbi at Nefesh Shul. He's also an author and a lecturer, and he's been the author of a wonderful advice column that's been going out and I've been loving reading lately. Rabbi Moss, the question I'd like to ask you is, I've seen Fiddler on the Roof, and I've seen the role that Yenta plays in organizing a Shidduch. Now, once upon a time in the world of a Shidduch was undeniably important for a young couple to meet and marry. But now in our modern day world of usually accessible travel and of dating resources like Tinder, JSwipe, JDate, what is the role of the Shidduch? Also, I have seen very many happy couples, and in fact, some of my favorite couples are Shidduch couples. But we've also seen lately television shows where some of the problems arise and are shown. What would you say to people that question whether a couple meeting only a few times know each other well enough to be married and happy for life?
Thanks so much, Tali. Look, Hollywood loves telling horror stories, and of course, some of them are true. But you have to look at the whole picture when it comes to Shidduch dating, and I don't think Netflix is the best and most reliable source for that. You might say that we no longer need Yenta, the matchmaker, because now we have Tinder, the matchmaker, but I'm not so sure that's true. I think we still need Yenta, because although times have changed since the shtetl, human nature hasn't. The outside surroundings may look different, but our inner world, the way we love, the way we connect to each other is exactly the same. And I believe that Yenta understood the inner world of the human being in a way that Tinder doesn't. Humans are a combination of mind and heart, thoughts and feelings. And dating involves both. It involves mind and in heart. You're making a decision, which is a thing in the mind. It's an important decision you have to think about. But it's a relationship, which is about feelings and love and connection. It has to feel right, and that's in the heart. Now, the trick is that mind and heart are two opposites. So your mind thinks rationally, and your heart feels irrationally. Your mind is objective, is removed. Your heart is subjective and involved. So it's really tough to make the right decision in relationships, because on the one hand, you're developing feelings and you're therefore losing your objectivity, but you need to think straight. So you can't enter a relationship without feelings, but you can't let the feelings cloud your judgment. So this is where I think traditional Shidduch has a lot of wisdom, and it has, I think, the edge over modern dating systems, because it provides certain safeguards to ensure that you keep your head screwed on when you're dating. Tinder doesn't do that. The opposite. Tinder dating is about feelings. I like you, and then let's work it out and see if it actually makes sense. And that's where it really gets messy, because you end up compromising your values when you're blinded by love. So let's compare a Yenta dating system to a Tinder dating system, and you'll see what I mean. Rule number one in the Shidduch dating system is no casual relationships. I don't want to waste 6 months or 2 years of my life on a relationship that was doomed from the beginning because the other party wasn't serious about it in the first place. Shidduch dating is only for those who are ready to settle down, get married, and start a family. On Tinder, you have no idea what the other person is thinking. Are they looking for marriage, or that might be the last thing on their mind? Why get emotionally involved with someone who isn't really thinking long-term? With Shidduch dating, it's clear from the beginning, this is for marriage, no messing around, and that just saves a lot of time and a lot of broken hearts. But of course, it's not enough to know that someone wants to get married and then just date them for that. In Shidduch dating, you also need to do background research. Before you even set eyes on each other, you do homework. You ask around to get a picture of who this person is, what they're about. You speak to friends, to neighbors, to roommates, to teachers. You want to know that this is a decent person. You want to know that they share your values. Otherwise, it's not even worth meeting if you're on 2 different pages. So you might ask questions like, is this person a nice, decent person? Are they on the same religious path as me? Is this person an axe murderer on parole? If you ask these type of questions and you get silence on the other end, then you've got an answer. But on Tinder, you don't see anybody write in their bio, my hobbies include lawn bowls, playing Pictionary, axe murdering. You don't know what you're getting into. And in the Shidduch world, you do. You've got those references, and so you do. You've got advance notice. So let's say you did your homework, it all looks good, and you start to date. Even then, you can't always trust your own judgment. Your heart can get involved, and you can start to get a bit skewed as well. You've got to think clearly. And so to do that, you need an outsider, somebody on the outside, to make sure that you're not making rash decisions, not being too quick to judge, or not letting your emotions run away with you. This is where Yenta helps a lot. I have a friend who, when he first met his wife on a Shidduch date, He was completely not interested in her, and she wasn't interested in him at all. But the Yenta, the matchmaker, convinced them to go on a second date just to be sure. And then after that, they weren't interested either. So the Yenta again convinced them, go on a third one just to be polite. And guess what? After 3 dates, something sparked and they actually started getting interested. They're happily married today. I have no doubt that if that would have been on Tinder, they would have swiped each other into oblivion long ago. Our tendency is to make these snap judgments and knee-jerk decisions. But that means we might miss out on getting to know really good people. Having a Yenta on the outside, having a matchmaker or a coach or a guide, somebody who is checking in on you, it means that you can save a lot of relationships that otherwise would not have survived the swipe culture. But I think what really sets Shidduch dating apart from all other dating is the fact that there's no touching, no physical contact whatsoever. Because as soon as a relationship becomes physical, the parties are no longer objective. Intimate touch is such a powerful connector. It can make you feel deeply about someone who you don't really know. Holding off from touching allows you to really find out what the other person's about and allows the deep emotions to come later on. So the sum total of all this is Shidduch dating is where the mind leads and the heart follows. You don't get emotionally involved with someone unless you already know that you're on the same page with each other. It makes sense to be together, that we share the same values. And there's a chance that this can actually work. And I know what I'm getting myself into. Only then you actually meet, after you know all that, and then see if you click. If you get on, if there's attraction, if there's a connection, that doesn't take too long. You can figure that out pretty quickly. Once you've done all the groundwork, once the foundations of a good relationship are there, you know you share the same values, you're in the same belief, you're on the same page, going in the same direction. Once that's all there, the emotional part doesn't take all that long. And so Shidduch dating can happen pretty quickly and very successfully. I think a lot of complications come about in dating when you start the other way. You start with emotions. You like each other before you know anything much about each other. Because once you're emotionally involved, you don't think as clearly. Most failed relationships end over things you could have known from the beginning, but you overlooked because you were in love. Shidduch dating avoids all that. Let the love come later after we know the facts. Now, look, I'm not saying it's a perfect system because people aren't perfect and we do get it wrong, but I think it's the best one we've got. And there are some Jewish dating sites like JConnect that combine modern technology with the traditional matchmaking. So even if you're not ready to go the full Yenta, you can apply at least some of the aspects of Shidduch dating to your dating. No casual relationships. Do your homework first. Get a dating coach and leave the intimacy for later. You'll save a lot of heartache and maximize your chances to meet your soulmate. So for me, if it's a choice between Yenta and Tinder, I'll take Yenta any day.
Thank you so much for explaining that. I think there are a lot of really great messages that young people who are looking for love can take from all the points you've just made.